and Diana Carpio, who is under the weather and has asked me to facilitate this for this evening. So that said, I'd like to transition to the Pledge of Allegiance and lead us in that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the United
States
States of America,
to
and to
the
the republic
Republic
for which
for
it stands, one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
To lead us into our workshop topics, I will hand it off to Dr. Estrella.
Thank you, Mr. Azima. This evening, we have two topics that we're going to be presenting on today. The first one is to provide the board and the community an update on the digital learning strategic plan design and development, just providing the board with an overview and update in terms of where that work is and the progress that we've done thus far. And then the second component of our presentation today is an update on school construction projects throughout the district. And for this presentation, we have Sandra Feois, her team, and other support staff to present. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Valencisi.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Strain. Good evening, board. And I'm happy to give you a really quick, brief overview of our new digital learning strategic plan. And I'm going to just share my screen out real quick. So tonight, I wanted to start off by introducing, first of all, my leadership team that works with me on IT as well as educational technology. I have David Hopp that's joined me tonight, our Director of Technology, Kathy Orgavan, our Enterprise Systems Software Manager, and not able to join us tonight because she's a little under the weather, is Willette. We refer to her as Lynn Peyton Robbie, and she's our Coordinator of Digital Learning. So we wanted to talk a little bit tonight about, first of all, why do we even have a digital learning strategic plan? And how does this kind of align with our own plan? One of the main reasons why we have a plan is it helps us to be able to align our work in digital learning and technology to our overall strategic plan. It's going to help to be able to, for everybody to see cohesiveness in the work that we do. If you remember earlier in our efficiency study, there was also a recommendation to have a strategic plan. So last year we began work on this as soon as we received those recommendations from the efficiency study. Our digital learning strategic plan will help us to communicate our goals to all constituents that we work with, to staff, to parents, as well as to the community. It allows for transparency. It allows us to actually have accountability within our department through the metrics that as we measure our plan and see how well we're doing. And it also allows us to have feedback because we do have an advisory board that works with us on the strategic plan. And one of the items that I'd like to really stress is that, technology in general supports are needed in every department. And these plans, the plan itself actually identifies the overall support structure that we do for all departments throughout the Newark Public Schools. So over the past year, we've been spending a bit of time working on this plan. And we, meaning the technology and educational staff. So we've had teachers involved, we've had our technicians involved, in helping to craft what the actual plan looks like. And we've also developed an advisory group, which includes, and I'll list them at the end of the presentation for you. And I'd like to thank them too for the work that they've done so far, which include parents, community members, teachers, administration. And in this coming year, we're going to be including 2 students onto that advisory board too, into as soon as we get into the 23-24 school year. We've also been working throughout this plan, and we've made sure that we've been collaborating with partners outside of Newark Public Schools to develop an effective digital learning plan. I worked with my own coach that I have on helping to kind of align and making sure that the plan actually works with our strategic plan. And we've also worked with national groups such as Consortium of School Networking, which stands for COSN. And that's really an association specifically for IT leadership in K-12 education. One of the things that I did want to point out too, as we go through the plan, is that in our efficiency study, it did actually state that our two departments, the Municipal Technology Department and the Board of Ed, should remain separate, but we should be looking at partnering whenever possible. And some of those things that we've actually made very, very apparent over the last year is our collaborations with our phone systems. We do share and we do collaborate on how our networks work together. And we also do things that are actually, we have the ability to actually develop a way of saving money, which is, one example would be a security audit. So instead of hiring two different entities to be able to do a security audit, we actually hire one together in collaboration to be able to do two separate audits for our systems. So we do plan on continuing to do that. And one of our advisory group members is Joyce Liu, the IT director from the city IT department, and she's been working very, very closely with us too, and has always been a great partner. Our plan itself, and the plan is actually, I did have hard copies for you tonight, but since we're digital, it's actually been attached now to the to the board agenda and board docs, and it's available for you. But the plan itself is actually organized into a number of different sections. It includes digital learning, infrastructure, which is basically our boxes and wires and the networking. It talks about coaching. It talks about our library media services, and it also talks about our data infrastructure. Each one of those sections in the plan has certain areas that we cover. They all cover the current state, which is really where we're at right now. We cover our goals, where we want to be. We talk about a gap analysis. What are some of the barriers right now and things that we're trying to come up with solutions for? How are we trying to come up with those solutions? And then finally, also the metrics. What are measurements that we're going to be looking at over time? And the plan gets into, much more specifics around this. But tonight, what we wanted to do was just take a few brief minutes to highlight a couple of those areas in each one of those different sections. So I'm going to let Dave talk to you for just a few minutes on our infrastructure and give you some quick highlights of what you may see in the plan as you read through it. So Dave, I'll turn it over to you for a moment.
Thanks, Ralph. Good evening, everyone. So looking at infrastructure at our current state, so we have a robust metropolitan area network between the buildings. So high-speed connectivity, which leads to our high-speed bandwidth that we give out to all the students to access programs in the internet. We've recently gotten all of the Wi-Fi access points upgraded in all the buildings, and we're continuing to evaluate security tools, and we have quite a few on board now to help keep students and staff safe. Our goals moving forward are to bring all of our applications up to enterprise level or systems. Try to move a lot of systems to cloud-based infrastructure to take the burden off of us, and always to continue evaluating and upgrade our security. Some of our biggest gaps we find are staffing to manage all these systems. It gets to be quite a lot of things to look at, and keeping up with a number of repairs of student and staff devices. With every student, every staff member having a device, there is quite a lot out there now. Some of our plans we're looking to achieve are annual reviews of our disaster recovery plan and our incident response plan. We're going to continually evaluate our security tools, and again, evaluate moving more things to the cloud. The metrics we use are reporting on our network uptime, making sure everyone has access all the time, and keeping an eye on our completion of tickets. And that's the infrastructure.
So I'll cover the next section, which talks about digital learning. And this really encompasses our digital coaches that are working throughout all of our buildings, as well as our library media specialists. So our current state is that our digital coaches do work with our K-8 buildings and at times offer support to our high school. The coaches really are predominantly right now focused on making sure that we have a digital citizenship curriculum and that we have supports for our K-8 staff to be able to deliver instruction through the use of technology. Our goals are to actually make a much more robust and comprehensive digital literacy curriculum for all students. Currently, our curriculum covers digital citizenship. We've added in research skills this year, and we're looking to add in some basic computer basics in the coming year. And that will actually be delivered through our library media specialists as well as other specialists within the building. Some of our gaps that we have, and these are traditional gaps that you'd see in any plan recently, is staffing. We're realizing more and more how important these positions are. And we actually, if you look in our efficiency study, it actually did mention that we should have a few extra coaches as we move forward, but we've been actually learning to scale the current coaches that we have in place. And we'll talk about that in a moment too as well. And additional time to be able to help build out the digital literacy curriculum. And we'll be looking at doing that over the summers, as well as making sure that we actually find more time for our coaches to work together collaboratively on this. And kind of covers the plans to achieve our plans for this coming year is really to look at training local staff. We're looking to pivot how we've been actually using our staff to be able to scale and touch more and more teachers than they have currently. And some of the metrics that we look at are traditional metrics of surveys and evaluations. We do look at the implementation of digital curriculum, and we do that through pre and post tests that are given to all the students when they do take this. And we also look at evaluations on requests from support for teachers in the classroom. So what are they asking for, and are they actually getting what they need? And with data, this really is more Kathy. So I'm going to turn this slide over to Kathy to talk a little bit about what we're doing with single-use, single sign-on.
Thanks, Ralph. Good evening, everyone. Kathy Orgavan. Our current state is a single portal called ClassLink. It's predominantly a single sign-on dashboard that houses all of our curated apps, including operational, along with curriculum. One of the goals is to create a more secure single sign-on experience on top of the existing one, and to grow the intranet, the portal for staff, where they can access department sites and information that's current in the district for just staff. The gap analysis, we have too many applications. I don't know how else to say that. And there's a lot of redundancy in tools. So to fine tune that a little bit better, having one place for staff to access the content and not have that redundancy, the intranet presence along with the dashboard too. To achieve, create that internal shared presence. That is the intranet, the Newark Public Schools internal site, where I can build out the repository of data and create software visualizations that are easily accessible to them, and then curate that current dashboard with the applications, avoid that redundancy, and create that more sustainable digital environment. Metrics are quarterly reports that are pulled from the current dashboard. There's an analytic tool built into it, many different options for those analytics, for both application setup and software use across the district, staff and students. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And then I'll talk to Lynn's slide really quickly. So we've actually made sure that at our K level, we have now all certified library media specialists as we're moving forward. And those library media specialists, as I mentioned earlier, are delivering our digital citizenship curriculum. They're delivering lessons and research, and they're also supporting staff as coaches are in application integration. So making sure that teachers have the ability to be able to use the technology that they have and augment their own learning. Our goals are to continually actually, improve our digital literacy curricula, and it needs, with anything in technology, it gets dated very quickly. So having a regular annual updates to what we actually teach our students is something that has to happen on a, just really needs to happen in general. ChatGPT is a perfect example of that, of how we actually need to make sure that as new tools and new technologies are being introduced to students, how do we actually integrate that into the digital literacy that they're learning to make sure that they're prepared for the world. And our gap analysis in this area with our library media specialists, it really does come down to time for planning and just having more professional learning opportunities. So we've actually made sure that our library media specialists are integrated now with our association at the Connecticut state level, which is CASEL, and they're also making sure that they're looking at other opportunities over time on how they can improve their own skills. Some of our plans to be able to achieve this is, once again, as I just mentioned, really the library media specialists are helping to develop that professional learning environment for themselves internally, as well as looking for outside resources. And our metrics to measure this, the implementation of our library media services, as I also mentioned with the digital coaches, is our pre and post test of digital citizenship. We have surveys, and then we also have a number of assessments that are done with the librarians on a regular basis to see where there's gaps. Just to highlight a couple of our achievements in this past year, because once again, this is a 3-year plan. This past year, we've actually, it's pretty seamlessly. Kudos to Mr. Hop and to Dave and the technology team. We were able to upgrade pretty much all of our Wi-Fi in all of our schools. We used to use a system called Meraki, and now we've moved over to the Aruba network. Those means that every single access point has basically been changed over the last 2 years in the district and upgraded. One of the other big highlights that we've talked about quite a bit that we're very proud of is the work with Verizon in our schools. And not only are we proud of it from the coaching level and what's going on instructionally, but our technology team has been actually working very closely with those schools. So our technicians are involved with the tech teams out there, working with students on a regular basis. If you ever get a chance, you can, if you do get a chance to go out to the schools and see the work that our tech teams are doing, you'll usually see a technician there along with a teacher, working with them on fixing computers. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful partnership. And it's very fulfilling for our technicians as well to be working with students. We have a cohort of teachers that are actually receiving a new industry certification from the International Society of Technology and Education. And this is actually a badging for teachers that they have built a portfolio that shows they know how to integrate technology effectively into instruction. So our coaches are going through this, our library media specialists are also going through this training, and we do have some teachers that have joined that cohort as well too. So we're very excited about that. One of the other highlights this year, and kudos to Marianne Shepard, who's also been really integral in making this all happen. We've had a partnership with our library media specialists, our coaches, and some of our other specialists to work in partnership with the Connecticut Science Center in learning NGSS standards and helping to augment our science curriculum at the K-8 level through the use of technology in their instruction. We've also made sure that any newly added applications that go into our single sign-on, which is ClassLink, are only available through there. So sooner or later, we want to make sure that portal is the place where all of our students go to get all of their resources, and we're working towards that over the next few years. And then we've also been able to, one of the things we're very proud of is that we've been able to support the research and analytics team with the back-end tools that they need. So as they work through the analytics and look at how they're actually going to develop their visualizations and so forth, having some of the technicians, making sure that they have the tools that they need in order to achieve those goals is something we've been very, very proud of. Along with that, some of our concerns. One of the things that we do have each year that we really need to be aware of as we've become a one-to-one district is our capital funding. We need to make sure that we actually keep that in check. And, at this point, on a regular basis, when we have close to 12,000 students, we really do need to replace about 3,000 computers a year for our students in a regular refresh when you think about a 4-year cycle of computers. So it's very, very important that we actually keep that in mind as we move through the next couple of years. One of the things that we're also seeing is that, along with getting new machines and getting a refresh, is making sure that we've actually developed a model to be able to support repairs. And I've been working with our local schools within their site-based budgets to be able to help have a ratio so that they can actually make sure that they have funding that we can actually use for repairs for student machines. And so that's something that we're making sure that's actually in place over the next couple of years. We want to make sure that we have more time to actually keep our staff safe online. So learning about phishing software, phishing emails, learning about how to keep yourself secure, because in order to be able to keep our students secure, our adults need to know how to keep themselves secure too. So finding more time to be able to offer them some more professional development in this area is one of the things that we want to do. As I mentioned earlier, our recommendations in the efficiency study was to add 3 additional coaches, but currently we probably will be reducing by 1. And this is really just, in light of our current state of the moment and stuff and how we're going to be able to move forward in this coming year. We're hoping that we can look at that over the next couple of years and make sure that we kind of expand that. Our library and media specialists, overall, they've been very, very successful, and they're working wonderfully with the students. One of the things we want to do over the next couple of years is actually look at how do we change their class loads so that they have a little more time to spend with teachers in their day. Because right now they're spending predominantly most of the time with students. We want them to kind of get into a little bit more opportunities for coaching in their local buildings. We want to be able to expand our ability to provide more analytics for all the tools that we use operationally, and offer more support around level 1, meaning that simple supports for people to be able to log in and so forth. We do this on a regular basis, but I know it's something that we want to improve on. And overall, with anything else, I think this is kind of a common trend. It's like, how do we communicate when we actually have to make changes quickly, and all the changes that happen in technology on a regular basis with all of our staff and stakeholders? And that's something that we want to actually improve on ourselves. So it's more of an internal concern for us. Our next steps in this next year is we're going to continue doing what we've been doing. We've actually, we've seen a lot of successes this year, but we're just at the beginning of actually moving this plan forward. We're actually going to change our coaching model to become more platform-based instead of school-based. And this is what I had mentioned before about pivoting. So currently, we have coaches assigned to schools. We may have one coach that manages 3 elementary schools. For the coming year, in order for that coach to be able to spend more time specifically on applications, they will actually be platform-based. So there may be a coach, instead of spending it on 3 schools, they may actually handle 3 different types of platforms. And teachers throughout the district will have a booking site that we use, which is very similar to a way for them to sign up for that coach to come out and actually work with those teachers in those buildings on a regular basis. So it is a pivot, and we feel like that'll actually allow us to scale the coaching staff that we currently have. We want to be able to find more time for them to be able to, coaches and librarians, to work together to look at coaching and training over the next year. And we also want to make sure that we continue updating our digital learning curriculum, as I had mentioned earlier. We're going to be looking at our digital citizenship pre and post tests, and actually what's changed, similar to, like I said, ChatGPT, all of those different types of technologies. How do we kind of upgrade those on a regular basis? And we're going to be adding in computer basic lessons into our K-8 curriculum this coming year. And with that, I just wanted to open it up to any questions that the board or anybody may have.
Kara?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for that presentation. I just had a follow-up question on the infrastructure side. And Ralph, you noted that there have been some upgrades to Wi-Fi in buildings. I think you said not all buildings.
Oh, no, they all have. It took 2 years.
All of them
but yes,
have been
all
upgraded?
of them,
Okay.
everybody's been upgraded, yes.
And do we know like what the performance levels are at this point? And I ask because I do hear sometimes that the Wi-Fi in some of our buildings is not great.
Mhm.
And, you know, I realize some of our facilities, they are literally like concrete blocks, and sometimes Wi-Fi doesn't transmit so well through those kinds of building materials. But obviously Wi-Fi is absolutely critical for our students and our teachers to be able to do what they have to do all day. So do we know anything about the performance of this new Wi-Fi infrastructure in all the schools compared to what we had?
Yes, definitely. So with the Meraki system, we did, I mean, there was 1 or 2 buildings that actually were very problematic for us for a number of years. And
Right.
I would say that, and Dave could probably talk to this more, and we can actually get you some more data, more specifics to drill down on the uptime in these buildings, as well as the connectivity that we see on a regular basis. But I don't really believe that this current year we've had anywhere near as many issues since we've actually switched over to Aruba that we have had in the past. And Dave, is that correct, or am I?
Yeah, no, that's good. What we do find is, you know, we'll find an area of a building that has to have a little bit more work done to it as we go through, especially with these new access points. We get a little bit more data back. There's always, you know, as you said, these buildings, some of them are tough. A lot of times we do find that the Wi-Fi is working, and it's we'll have some device issues that look like it's the Wi-Fi's problem. And then, you know, occasionally we do lose an access point in a building. We'll have to swap it out quickly to keep everybody up and running.
Yeah, and we do have staff that's dedicated to that too. You know, one of our technicians, Larry Danforth, actually focuses almost specifically on Wi-Fi throughout the district. And when issues come up, that level 2 support, he runs out to the building. He deals with those issues. Yeah, we, in all honesty, we're going to be very, very happy when we have a new Norok High.
Yeah, that's one of the buildings that,
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to participate in a meeting last week, and there were people that were in the building, you know, on the virtual side, and their Wi-Fi, like, it was not stable at all, and it was very disruptive for the meeting.
Yeah. And if anything, we always tell the buildings to reach out to us quickly about that, so we can actually help to try and address that.
Right.
But there are, as Dave mentioned, sometimes there's little pockets that we run into.
Okay, so there's someone actively watching the performance in the schools, and is there also a feedback mechanism from the schools, like from the assistant principal or somebody, if something happens, or what's that like?
Yeah, so
path
we
of
have
communication?
at the high school levels, we actually have a technician that's actually fully dedicated in those
Okay.
buildings. So that's their level of response. But we do have a
Okay.
ticketing system, and each one of the schools knows that they, like I said, if it's an urgent matter, usually we may know before they do. If an access,
Right.
as Dave mentioned, if an access point goes out, if the power goes out, we're getting alerts. Well, I should say Dave's really getting the alerts at all times. You know, and he'll be able to respond to them pretty quickly. A lot of times, even if it's happening at 2 o'clock in the morning, we can sometimes even adjust things remotely if
Right.
power goes out or so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Mhm.
Mary Ellen?
Yes, Ralph, thank you for that interesting presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Good. I'm really interested in the badge idea, and that is training, including coaches, but also teachers. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? And then also on how is the NGS standards uh, connected with
Technology. Yeah.
with the technology? How are you going about doing that, and at what schools?
Sure. So to answer your first question, the if you one way, and it's actually within the actual plan itself. So we just covered a highlight of the plan. The last page will actually have some resources. One of those resources is a link to get to ISTE.org. That's the International Society of Technology for Education. That's they are pretty much they are the national provider for understanding how to integrate technology into schools. They've actually developed a badging tool which teachers can apply for, and they create a portfolio. They take a series of classes as well, and the portfolio themselves, they're actually taking lessons, and they have to actually change and augment the lessons that are normally taught in a classroom with the use of technology, and then align it to technology standards, which are really, for the most part, in most districts, they're future ready standards. So how are the standards that ISTE focuses on are topics such as communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and how to use technology to be able to deliver these. So our teachers are being trained in how to be able to do this work. What they didn't do is, and this ties back to the end, the second question you had, which is our work with the Connecticut Science Center. So earlier this year, we're doing this in a threefold process. Our coaches were trained in NGSS standards. They were trained in the science standards that we follow as our curriculum within Norwalk. They spent the first 2 months working with the Connecticut Science Center on that. They then spent time actually learning how to be able to coach and augment and really work with staff to be able to integrate changes to their curriculum. And now they're actually the Connecticut Science Center is working with each one of those coaches to be at their buildings and helping with a push-in model of making sure how are they implementing these plans. So basically, our science, they may take a unit of study at second grade and look at that, figure out exactly what it is that they want to be able to augment. Where can technology help us to be able to actually teach this in a better way? And then modify that as well as work with the staff on actually implementing it. And we've done this in all of our K-8 buildings. So all of our K-8 buildings were involved with this.
Thank you very much. That's a very powerful way to put forward these really next generation standards and student ready standards. I'm very impressed with that.
If there's no further questions, we will, I don't know, I saw Sherry's hand go up earlier, but I don't know if she still has a question.
Yeah, real quick, Ralph, you had something in your presentation about platform-based versus school-based. So when you say platform-based, are you talking about, for instance, if the school staff wanted to get more training on social media? When you say platform, are you talking about that, or something that's more one of your platforms that's more curriculum driven, or either or?
So it's a mix of both. So I mean, so one example, let me give you some examples of the platforms that I'm talking about. One platform may be the use of our ViewSonic boards.
Okay.
So the interactive whiteboards. But another platform is a couple of the coaches will be focused on helping with our new website, so that if there's training that's needed by the webmasters in the buildings, they'll actually be able to sign up. So that's an example maybe towards that social media piece. We have a variety of different platforms that we know that we've seen over the last couple of years that are the typical ones that are being asked for support for, and those are the ones that we're going to focus on. But once again, if the expert that we have is only in 3 buildings, and they're really such a great expert around that. We'd rather have them be able to kind of be signed up to go to another building and deliver instruction there, as well as the buildings that they're currently in. We do that to an extent, but we want to scale it a little bit better, and we feel it'll be more efficient.
Excuse me, Ralph. Sorry. Erica's not a panelist. She needs to be leveled up.
Oh, okay.
So, if there are no further questions, I'm gonna ask Ms. Fayois to transition to her presentation around capital projects. Well, sorry, school construction projects.
Okay,
Which are
thank you. Good
capital
evening.
projects anyway.
Yes, same difference. Let me share my screen. Hold on tight. Sorry, we'll try that again.
Before you proceed, Sandra, is Erica elevated?
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Did you have any questions, Erica, before we transition? Because I wasn't sure if you had any questions about the first presentation.
Nope, thanks for bumping me. I just realized halfway through it I wasn't a panelist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, Sandra, sorry.
No. That's okay. My presentation kind of, my OneNote disappeared, but hold on a second. Ralph, do you by chance have it? Or Roland? Let me do it again, okay? Okay, I got it back, but for some reason, when I go to share full screen, it disappears. So I'm just going to do my best with this, okay?
Sandra, are you on a dual screen?
Yeah, unfortunately, but don't tell me to do something different. I'll get too nervous and I'll mess it up. Okay, can you guys see this portion? Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. So thank you, guys. I'm sorry about my technical difficulties. You would think that after the pandemic, we would have had this down. But good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Estrella. Thank you for having us today. I'm here with a group from Construction Solutions Group, who is our city side partner that is mostly project managing for all of our school construction projects. And I'm also here with Bill Hodel, who is our Director of School Facilities and also oversees our school construction projects. So as they present, I will be transitioning. Our agenda is basically to just bring you up to date on our 4 projects, Silver Mine Driveway Project, the Cranberry School Construction Project, Norwalk High P-TECH Project, South Norwalk project. And then in the end, I just have some news to share with you regarding school construction website that we are in the process of putting together with our communications department. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill Hodel, who is going to start us with the Silver Mine Driveway project. I'm going to go quickly through these slides. because I'm going to leave you at the content. Now, if somebody can't see these, please let me know so that I could try to enlarge them for you, okay? So Bill, will you get us started?
Thank you, Sandra, and good evening, everyone. So the much talked about Silvermine project is about to start, and that's a good thing. What you have here in front of you, I'm going to first focus on the photo, is 2 choke points. That is too much congestion, which leads to serious safety issues. There are 4 components and there's 2 lanes. The components are cars, buses in and out, buses in, and pedestrians in and out. As a result, there's been many near misses, and in the interest of safety, something must be done. So just this month, I know we've been at this a while, we were able to award a contract to B&W Paving and Landscaping. We know them well. They did a great job for us last summer with the underground oil storage tank removals. And they were awarded the job and have already ordered long lead time items, which is crucial to this project. Because as these last 2 bullet points state, they will have 2 months to start and complete this project. So what you have here again is the current conditions. And as we go to the next slide, I'll walk through them. More current conditions. This was taken in the morning during the drop-off. What you see in the upper portion of this is a massive backlog of traffic on Perry Avenue, and that also intersects with U Street, which comes down a huge hill. And you can see the cars exiting. It's a major congestion as well as a safety issue, as I mentioned earlier. There are blind spots. There's a lot of congestion, and the single entry and exit point for cars, it's a disaster. Next slide, Sandra. Here's a closer picture of Perry Ave. And the top picture there, you could just see the exiting as well. So our goal here is to eliminate congestion, which we'll see in the next slide, create separation between cars, buses, and pedestrians, increase. And so here we have, I'm going to start you at the lower right diagram here. What you have now is 2 points of entrances, a separate bus entrance, which this school has never had. So you're going to have buses come and go in one area. Then you're going to have parent drop-off come into the premises, go down to the parking area, either drop their student off, who can walk along that light gray pavement without getting involved in traffic and walk into the school, or drive around this circular pattern towards the exit, and there's a third lane there. That third lane will be the parent drop-off where they can drop the student off and exit right from there. The lower left-hand photo is taken from Silvermine River, looking up towards Perry Ave. And that long gray curvy wall there is a retaining wall, which would separate the upper portion with the lower portion. In the middle of the parking, you see the gray striped area. That's a pedestrian walk by where you can drop your student off, or you can escort your student through the gray area and make your way to the side pavement and walk into the school. And the upper photograph is looking down from U Street as a plan view where you can see a widened entrance, separate bus entrance. The ADA parking has been reconfigured, and it also allows for additional visitor parking up top. So this is the new generation of what the Silvermine parking will look like come late August. Next slide. So in September of 2021, as I mentioned, we've been at this a while. We presented to the key stakeholders on the plan of what we are going to do last spring and winter. we needed more approvals from local and state authority. During the summer of last year, we received approval from DPW. So in the fall, we went out to bid. And Common Council approved us just this past couple of months. So here's a project that's long in waiting, and it'll be starting very soon. Thank you. Are there any questions on this project, or
I
Sam, you
see
want
a
to go right?
question. No, I see a question from Kara.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra, and thanks, Bill. So I'm just curious, when did this issue at Silvermine first become apparent? I can see that the first design presentation was in September 21, but like, how long has this been going on and why? Like, did something change with the design on that campus? I'm not a Silvermine parent, so I'm not familiar, but I'm just curious to know, like, how did it get to this level of?
Are you talking about, Kara, the delay in getting?
No,
this
like just in
approved or not?
general. I mean, like, has this been the design of the campus and the school like forever? I mean, Erica, I know you're in that area of town and maybe you're able to shed some light on it, but like, did the population at the school increase dramatically? So the traffic increased, were more parents dropping off? Like, what, like, how did we get here? Because I'm assuming it didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah, I mean, the building is at, at max capacity over in Silvermine. And I think like all of our schools, it was built to be a neighborhood school. It turned into a magnet. And as a result, we've got more buses coming in than walkers that, the school was originally designed to accommodate. There has been delays, and, I'll let Sandra, speak to that, in implementing the plans, at no fault of MPS's, just, part of going through the process. But it's, very similar to the Tracy situation where, that school is smack in the middle of a neighborhood. It's not meant for buses to move up and down, to the extent that we have buses there. And, I think we've got to just slowly, check off, the reconstruction of the driveways across many of our schools.
And I just want to shed a little bit of light that even previous to this getting accepted as a capital project, it had been brought up as a capital request multiple times before it actually became approved. Bill has been here for the duration, so he could definitely shed some light on the history. But I think that the problem was noted as a problem quite a while ago, but it did eventually get approval in the capital. And then along the way, there were some setbacks that were really unavoidable. One was the bid coming in, us getting a portion of the funding and then having to go back to ask for more funding the first time. Then in the design, there were some designs elements that had to be redone because there were things with the septic tank and ADA compliance with the sidewalks. So there have been a number of setbacks just because of the due diligence of the city and of our part. And then this last time it was because now it's been so long since the original funding was approved, the project bids actually came in higher than what the project had been approved for. So, the problem with the delays in a post COVID world is that things are more expensive now. But we're happy to report that we are now finally on schedule and ready to go, because it's been a long awaited, and the community has been waiting for this project for quite some time, which is why we started with Silvermine project. We knew that it was a hot topic.
Yeah. Okay,
I
great.
see hands
Thank
from
you
Sherry
for all that
and
background, everybody.
of course.
Yeah, I'll
see
just add
hands
one more
from
thing before
course.
Sherry jumps in. If you're not familiar with where it is within Silvermine, there's also the added element of, you've got U Street, you've got Perry Avenue, but then on the back side, you've got that tiny little bridge that connects Silvermine Ave to Perry Avenue, where we can't move buses, through that tiny little bridge. So that also causes backup because we can't exit buses that way either. So it's just a perfect storm over there.
Got it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Erica.
Yeah.
Sherry's hand was up and
So,
Janine's hand is also up. Yeah.
When are we supposed to break ground on this? When are we gonna work? Is it gonna be during school? Or are we gonna wait till summer?
We're waiting for summer.
We're gonna do it during the summer.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Bill. Tell us exactly when,
Well,
Bill.
well, technically, I'd like to say we already started a lot of stuff in the workings. They're ordering large and long lead time items. We may start stocking the lower ends of the parking lot with some materials to begin the project. But we really can't begin digging until the day after graduation. So we're expecting around June 19th to begin.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I mean, it would be tough to do that, with school.
No,
in
absolutely.
session, right?
But we have
And
all our
I-
ducks in order to be
Right.
able to actually start right when school lets out.
And the people in the community, I mean, I would assume they're gonna get some kind of notification, even though it's been something that's been discussed. When you start digging and traffic starts getting, people are gonna
Absolutely.
be concerned, so.
Yes.
The people in the community, I mean, of course, nobody ever likes traffic, but in this particular instance, the traffic is so backed up that people start parking on the surrounding neighbors' yards and getting out of their cars and walking their children, like abandoning their cars. It gets that bad. And then the neighbors call the police. And so they want this done too.
Janine?
Going along with that, I know that the community has wanted this for a long time. And the family members there have been asking for it. So have they seen at this point most of them have seen these plans and are happy with them? And
Yeah,
what
so
it
there were-
looks to lay out?
There were actually 3 plans that were presented, and then this became the one that was chosen. The community engagement has been ongoing for quite some time now. We did reconnect with the new Principal Paredes, and she had a PTO meeting and had a SGC meeting that was open to the public. Erica has also been sort of just keeping us engaged and what the community has seen or not seen. So we had communications send out something from the school to just update people on the plans and to make sure that they understood the timeline. We will do so again right before we break ground, just so that people understand that the campus is off limit. We're moving summer school to a different site, so it won't impact the function or the operations of the campus, but to just make sure that everybody doesn't lose faith that it is actually happening.
All right, great, thanks.
If we're okay to move forward, I was going to move forward from Silvermine and go into Cranberry. Okay, so we'd like this opportunity to have Mike Faenza share with you guys the updates on Cranberry School. Mike Faenza works for Construction Solutions Group. He is also under the weather, so we're going to keep it quick. But Mike, do you want to take over?
Thanks, Sandra. At the Cranberry project, lots happened. The first photo there is a picture of the main stairwell in the building. At this point in the project, the building is almost entirely closed in. The contractor's working on installing the last remaining windows. The glass storefronts have been installed at the cafeteria. We're still awaiting the delivery of the hardened security entrances. And at this point, ceramic tile is being installed in the bathrooms, as well as sheetrock, and acoustical ceiling and lighting is going into the building at this time. The slide that's on your screen right now is just a schedule for the project. We have about 5 months left with regards to the new building construction. At that point, once the new building is completed, we'll get all of the teachers' belongings and materials out of the building and then begin demolition of the old building to make way for the new fields and parent drop-off loop. And then these are just some progress photos from the school. The top left photo is a classroom. The top middle is the exterior, just to give you an idea of the colors of the brick that are on there and the architectural details with regards to the banding. The photo at the top right is the storefront system at the cafeteria. The photo to the bottom left is I honestly don't remember where I took that from the building, but it's a photo of the ceiling and all the mechanicals being installed. And the photo of the bottom right is another photo of the brick. I think these photos were taken about 2 weeks ago. So in that time, a lot's happened there. Moving on to some community engagement that we've had. A groundbreaking ceremony was held on April 11th, 2022, when we first started the project. We did a topping off ceremony, which was the installation of the last beam being put into place. That beam is actually going to be over the stage. All of the students within the school signed that beam. The mayor, a lot of the administrative staff signed that beam, and you'll be able to see that beam, once the project's completed. So it'll be a little historic element to the building from when it was built. And then most recently, this past November, the school was doing a lesson on forces and playground design. So, we had the playground consultant who designed the playgrounds for this building come and talk to the students. And we had a couple extra playground pieces that were necessary. And the students were actually able to vote for the pieces of equipment that would then be put into the larger children's playground and the younger children's playgrounds.
So we will have a walkthrough of the site at some point when it's safe for everybody to go through. Dr. Estrella and I had the pleasure of going there just, I think, last week or the week prior. And actually Dr. Estrella was able to sign the beam. So we were very happy. Thank you, Bill, and for setting that up. And thank you, Mike. But are there any questions regarding Cranberry before we move on to our next project? Okay, I guess that's the sign that you did a good job, Mike. Okay, thank you so much. I'm now going to invite Dan Phillips, also of Construction Solutions Group, to take us through Norwalk High P-TECH project.
Good evening. Up on the screen is a rendering of the currently designed new Norwalk High School and P-TECH project. To the left of the screen is the Norwalk High School wing, which is 4 stories tall. In the center near the flag is the main entrance with the media center behind the glass up above it. And then off to the right is the P-TECH wing of the school. We can jump to the schedule. So we finished our DD design development phase of the project in January of 2023. We're currently in the construction documents phase, which will be completed towards the end of July. At that time, we will update our project estimate and go out to bidding. The project should be bid, contracts awarded to trades, and construction breaking ground by late December, early January of 2024. As you can see here in orange, the construction schedule for the new building is approximately 3 years until December of 2026. At that time, the students and staff will move into the new building, and then we will be able to start the demo of the existing building and completing the site work, which includes the football field, tennis courts, main parking lot, and the multi-use field. And next slide. So just to orientate you first, up to the top left of this site plan is Strawberry Hill Ave. The intersection of Strawberry Hill Ave and County Street is at the very top of the screen. And then to the right is County Street with the driveway entrance on that side in approximately the same location that it exists today. Going from the top to the bottom, as you probably already know, the site is being flip-flopped, moving the football field to the front, closest to the intersection. The main parking lot is centered on the site. And just for reference, the top of that parking lot is approximately where the existing school is located now. Off to the right is the new tennis courts. To the left is the multi-use field with a soccer field as well as softball. And then down in the bottom is the new footprint of the Norwalk High School P-TECH project. And the next slide we'll look at is a sample floor plan to kind of give you an understanding of how this building is laid out. From the top left is the P-TECH wing, which is 3 stories. Administration is right behind the main entrance in the top center. And off to the right is the Norwalk High School wing, which is 4 floors. Towards the center is the cafe, cafeteria, kitchen, and then support area behind there for custodians, mechanical spaces. To the left is physical education and athletics with the locker rooms, the gym, and then another gym, I guess, weight room area up above the gymnasium. To the right is performing arts, bottom right, music and band, and then the bottom left is the pool with pool locker rooms. And there is access through a door and lobby to allow this to be accessed off hours without going through the entire school. And just listed here on the left, we only shared one of the floor plans because it more or less repeats as you move up. But a couple of things that are featured on the upper floors is the media center, which is located directly above the administration, an auxiliary gym, which is roughly above the locker rooms by the first floor gym on this plan. There's project rooms, science classrooms and labs, career centers, special education space, as well as visual arts spaces. You go to the next slide. Community engagement. Really what we've outlined here are all the efforts and coordination and planning that goes into this project. The first 2 are the schematic design review meeting and then the design development review meeting with the state. We've already had those 2 meetings. Building management and land use committee, we've presented the project and approved the general layout of the plan through the land use. Board of Education Facilities Committee, we did an update recently, sharing the plans and walking them through the site plan as well as the floor plans. Planning and zoning, we recently received our approval for our special permit application in early February. And then along with that special permit, we've been coordinating with Traffic, Mobility and Parking, as well as Department of Public Works for requirements that they will be looking for so that when we do go to submit our building permit for the project, we have satisfied all their needs and that goes through with no issue. The community meetings, early on, we heard concerns from the King Street neighbors. We met with them on site on 3/8 of 2022. Project update courtesy letter. There was a letter that went out to all of the neighbors with a link to the current floor or the site plan and floor plans to inform them what was being built, where it was going to be located, and give them a general overview of the project. The special permit application included 2 notifications that went out in November and then in January. The Merrimack SGC meeting, a representative from the city attended on the 9th of this year, January 9th. And then we do have a meeting with the P-TECH and Norwalk High School SGC scheduled for later this month.
Could I also add that we've had probably weekly meetings with the staff? There were just too many for us to list. And we've actually taken their feedback and modified our designs a lot to make sure that it actually the school is meeting their needs. So those are probably weekly depending on the department, and some of them are more than weekly. And we've been in regular communication with both administrations, and that's probably weekly also. So those are not here because those are not greater community meetings, but I do want to state that those take place on a weekly basis between the architects and the school, and then ourselves as project managers.
And just to expand on that, early this year, when we finished the design development phase, we did set aside 2 full days, one for Norwalk High School and another day for P-TECH, where the architect came to the school, was there for the entire day, met with all of the departments, walked through the floor plans, the current design, and that's what kind of rolled into those ongoing meetings that we're having that Sandra mentioned, to fine tune that and try to make all the accommodations that we can within the project budget and the parameters of the project.
So before I transition over to South Norwalk School, Dan will be presenting that also, but are there questions on the Norwalk High P-TECH project? If you have your hand up, I don't see you, just please feel free to speak up.
Sandra, this is the
Okay.
project that will get the 80% reimbursement, right? This
Yes.
from the feds, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's okay then for us to move on.
Sorry,
to
Sandra.
Oh, that's okay, please. I
just,
can't see everybody, so if you
yeah,
have
that's-
your hand, okay, thank you.
And just out of curiosity, have we submitted anything for reimbursement just yet? I know we've started spending some money on some of the planning phases of this project, but I assume we haven't submitted any reimbursements just yet.
No, I believe we have. Actually, I'm meeting with Nina tomorrow. We're meeting with the state to talk about a project that we did a couple of years ago. But I'll talk with Nina, but I'm sure we did do a reimbursement request for architectural fees and owner's rep fees.
Thanks, Jim. I'm just curious to know if everything is going smoothly on that front, or if there's been any discussions or anything that's was not anticipated as part of that process.
No, not yet. I think things are going smoothly. We haven't run across any issues yet, just yet.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else before we move on? Just speak up if I don't see you. And everyone, this is Jim Giuliano, also with Construction Solutions Group. So he's here because Alan had to be at Common Council also. So if you have questions, he can help. Okay, I'm going to transition us to South Norwalk School. And Deanna, again, will take the lead on this.
Yeah, South Norwalk School. What you see here is an early section diagram, and this is really the vision for the new school. The floor plan has changed slightly, but I think it's important to share this and what the design team is thinking as they go through the different phases. You see the natural light making its way into the building in a couple of different areas, as well as the sight lines to make it interesting, looking down into the gym, looking down into the media center. And that's the general vision for this school. We can jump to the next slide. Project schedule. We finished. It's a little more difficult to see. It's a little busier than the last, but the design phase, which goes through the end of 2023, we've completed the schematic design. We're currently in the design development, which is scheduled to be completed, looks like late May, early June. Construction documents through the end of the year, with bidding happening in early 2024. Construction starting in the spring of 2024 and completing just before the 2025 school year as the students return. Down below, which we'll talk about as we get into the community engagement, but we've had 2 community engagement meetings, and then the third one, which is scheduled for May 4th, is shown here. And we'll talk about that a little more as we get to that slide. The project site plan. So to the left is showing a simpler plan. The building footprint is located in the center of the site. This was located here. As you may know, the project site has an elevation change from the Meadow Street extension, which is at the very bottom of the screen. As you move up, and the elevation changes significantly and much quicker once you get to the back of where we've placed the building. So there will be a hill up to a play field up at the top of the hill. Right behind the school is where the playgrounds and outdoor learning space will be located. To the left, if we look at the right image, kind of shows the circulation and the parking a little better, zoomed in more. There's parking shown off of Oxford, with that would serve as the school bus drop off. We're only anticipating 1 to 2 buses. We're going through the process with traffic, mobility, and parking, as well as doing our own traffic counts and analysis and coordinating with the Board of Ed Transportation to make sure that we're providing enough space for the potential buses coming to the site, as well as the number of parents that will be dropping off. Down to the bottom is the larger parking lot where the teachers would be parking, and this also serves as the parent drop-off. They would come in off of Meadow Street Extension, wrap around that parking lot, drop off along the sidewalk at that lower side of the school, with the main entrance being located in the center and administration on each side of that space. We could jump to the floor plan and explain the building layout a little more. The school is going to be 2 floors on the main level, starting from I'll start from the right and work my way over. The right has the cafeteria and gym. The cafeteria currently has an option to have opening partition so that you can open that space and for larger events, see the stage all the way from the cafeteria area. The kitchen is located on the right. The band and music are in the top right corner, bottom right corner. Being noisier classes, those aren't located in between or near the other classrooms. Classrooms are all across the back of the school and the left side. And then across the front, working our way back, we have an art classroom, and then the administration space is shown in green. In the center is there's 2 purple spaces, a multi-purpose room, as well as the media center. The media center is 2 floors, as well as the multi-purpose. If we scroll down to the second floor plan, all of the 2-story spaces are shown with the X through them as they open up into the upper floor of the building. And similar to the lower floor, the classrooms make their way around the outer edge of the space with the common areas, breakout spaces, bathrooms, administration, faculty spaces in green, shown at the center core of that building. We could jump to the community engagement. So as a new school and not a school not existing there, the staff not currently not hired or assigned to that location, we started by meeting with the different directors within the district from different groups. In order here are the meetings and the groups that we've met with to date for programming: nurse and physical education, art and music, special education, early childhood, technology and digital learning, facilities and food service, as well as administration. Sandra was part of those meetings and helped coordinate to get the knowledgeable parties to attend so that we could get the best information to design the school. State and city meetings, similar to the Norwalk High School, but a little earlier in the process. We have had our SDR, the Schematic Design Review meeting. We have presented to the Building Management and Land Use Committee, as well as the Board of Ed Facilities. We are meeting with Planning and Zoning and Traffic, Mobility, and Parking as we move into the design development phase to coordinate so that make sure that we're meeting the zoning requirements, as well as providing parking and traffic requirements for the TM&P. Community meetings, we touched on this earlier. We've had 2 meetings, and then the third is scheduled for May 4th, I believe it was. And then there will be community meetings throughout construction to keep the community informed and up to date on the progress.
Any questions regarding Sono?
I have a quick question. And
Sure, whoever wants to go first. I see Erica's hand, but Sherry.
Go ahead, Eric. I was just going to ask about traffic facilitation, and maybe it's too early to ask that, but given that you've got that traffic from South Main that dumps off into Meadow and then going over to Wilson Avenue, it can be a little prickly little corner there. has there been any thought about, I mean, I know now there's this, I think there's a stop sign there. So any discussion about a light or maybe some kind of a caution light similar to the setup that we have at Concord now on Concord Street, especially during the times of, when school starts and dismissal? And I'm really thinking about our walkers, obviously, but also, bus traffic and drop off, because that corner can get funky.
So we have a traffic consultant doing counts and analysis on different intersections surrounding the school. They will be doing an analysis of that tricky one that you've discussed, that where Meadow Street Extension meets South Main. We've had several conversations with traffic, mobility, and parking, and their concerns with that intersection. So we don't have the traffic reports yet, but that will analyze the traffic movements, what could be done to improve it, and then we'll meet with them again to determine what the direction will be. And as far as the importance of the walkers, there is a money approved for traffic, mobility, and parking, and that's why we're working very closely with them as we analyze the intersections in the area and providing that information to them as well. But they do have money approved to install sidewalks. It's a multi-phase project, but they will start right at the school and work their way out, understanding where the different population densities are to make sure that they're putting sidewalks in the most appropriate places to benefit the most walkers.
Great, thank you.
Erica?
Yes, I know that there's been community feedback around the flooding that takes place around the school, and I know you've done some due diligence and, how we would address the existing flooding as it appears that it would be right in the way of our buses. Can you speak to some of that?
Yeah, that's being reviewed with DPW. I know Alan Lowe has been discussing. I don't know the particulars at this time, but I know he's had conversations with DPW regarding that area that floods, I guess, during heavy rains. So, we are aware of it, and we are looking into ways to rectify it.
Yeah, the mayor's office has been pretty involved in addressing both the traffic concerns and also the flooding concerns. So it's something that actually we were discussing today as these meetings progress.
Thank you.
I see a hand up from the Spanish interpreter, but I'm not sure if there's an actual question or if that was an error. Is there another question from our board? No? Okay, so if there are no further questions, I just wanted to give you some updates that we are putting together a school construction website. And I had a slide on it and must have inadvertently took it off, but I'll give you guys a link so that you could at least see the landing page for it. It's currently under construction, and we anticipate to be able to launch it to everybody by the end of April. By mid-April, we'll put it out for feedback. And so then the 4 projects will be featured on it, and we'll have a mechanism for being able to archive projects and then bring on new projects. But in it, we will have all the timelines for everything, frequently asked questions, the blueprints, so that people could just go on and look for it themselves. And we're excited about making sure that we're just maintaining that as a communication tool. So that's something that we will be excited to present to you in the spring. So with that said, that's the end of our presentation. Unless there's another general question or comment, or if somebody wanted to bring something back. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead,
Thank
Godfrey.
you very much. I was going to thank you for your presentation and also If there are no other comments, I'm just going to transition to public comments, which is next on the agenda item.
Okay, thank you guys so much for your time.
Ralph, do we have any public comments submitted?
Currently, we have one person online. And if that, if that person's actually interested in speaking, what we're going to ask them to do is just to raise their hand. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah. Other than that, are there any board member announcements before we transition to ending this meeting this evening? Okay. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great evening. This meeting is adjourned.